A lot of people have been asking me about my attachments, asking me about how to improve their recoil, and a lot of people have accused me of macroing. So today I'm going to be going over my sensitivity, my recoil, and I'm going to be trying to give you guys like a guide on what attachments to use and when not to use an attachment, etc. If you'd like to skip straight to the sensitivity and attachments, there will be like timestamps below this video. A lot of FPS players, when they're performing badly, will instantly blame it on the peripherals, switch their mouse pad, or switch their sensitivity, or their keybinds, or whatever needs them to think that they should just magically become better. But a lot of the times, it's just posture. The reason posture can be such an issue for some is because it won't affect you at all, and then you'll just randomly drastically drop in consistency, and you'll just start playing terrible after playing for a few hours. There's a lot of people out there that can play really good for their first 5 matches, but just randomly get terrible, and this could easily be why for some of you. Starting with the first posture on the left, this is simply just foot elevation. The foot is way too high up to the point to where you're not grounded to the floor, and you're going to be moving around a lot in your chair. Also, the elbow is completely off angle. On to the next posture. The far right posture actually is pretty good. The foot's completely on the ground. The back actually has a good angle. A lot of improvement from the first one. However, the arm, it's a very wide angle. You want a tighter angle when you're playing, and you want your forearm to have as much room on the desk. Notice how it's still far away from the desk, and the arm still doesn't have much room. Now onto the third posture. Notice how everything that we talked about before is perfect on this one. Foot on the ground. The legs are completely aligned with the chair. The back straight. And the head is looking downward toward the monitor. And it's not too close where it's going to burn your retinas out of your eyes. And it's not too far to where you can barely see text on your screen. And notice how the elbow is not too tight of an angle to where it's uncomfortable, but it's just enough to where you could easily have enough room on your desk to move around your mouse. The two issues between the left and right posture is simply just upper screen weakness, and this is a very big problem in a lot of other FPSs, but not so much for Siege. The only Siege issue this causes is how much mouse room you have to control recoil. You might be amazing at controlling the first 5 to 10 bullets, but when it gets to 20 or 30, this is going to make it very difficult. Now, in my opinion, the next step before you dive into sensitivity and everything is simply just learn your patterns. Every single gun in this game has a pretty similar pattern, but it's good to go check it in shooting range if you're having difficulty controlling a gun. For this video, we're going to be using the R4C with an ACOG because a lot of people seem to have issues controlling this on the new season with the new ADS changes. So, to start, all you want to do is you just want to come on the shooting range. I'd do 10 meters and just shoot into this from like the bottom left and just watch your pattern. Or actually, go straight from the middle. Now, I know it's only 13 bullets, but if you look over to your left, that should give you a pretty good example of how to control it. All you want to do is just mirror it. Imagine the opposite. So, all you want to do is just flip this to where, you want to basically, when it goes to the right, you want to pull down to the left. So, just do exactly that. Just do the opposite of the pattern on the wall. So just pull down to the left, and you'll notice very quick results with this. And you can even go further back to see your inconsistencies and where you're missing. So you'll notice, randomly threaded, I get like a random jolt of horizontal to the right. Stuff like that in this game you really can't do much about, but all you have to do is just not panic and pull your recoil back to the center. Alright, so now that we have posture out of the way, the recoil pattern out of the way, there's only a few things left, and the next one is peripherals. So, for peripherals, this is a tough one because to be honest, it's mainly just preference. However, here is a very well put together spreadsheet of mouse pads and their respective rankings on price and lifespan. Personally, I switch between an Artisan Hien right here, and I also switch between an Artisan Hayate Otsu. Now, one thing I'd pay attention to is the glide lifespan. Now, the reason this matters is because after you use a mousepad for a while, a lot of mousepads, especially cheaper ones from the $20 to $50 range, will drastically change in glide speed. For instance, the Logitech G640 and the Logitech G440 are both very bad with this. The Logitech G640, honestly, in my personal opinion, is one of the best mouse pads for the first week you use it, and then after that, it is terrible. However, if you want my opinion on an entry level mousepad that isn't going to cost you that much money, but is a very, very, very good pick to have, I would choose the Artisan Heian. Time after time, this mousepad has just drastically stood up against other very like known competitors in the scene like Skypad, Zowie, Logitech, and they've almost always came out on top for just lifespan. Next is mice. A lot of people firmly believe that light mouses are the future, but when it comes to recoil in games like Siege, it's quite the contrary. Now, me personally, I use the Finalmouse Starlight 12, and I love this mouse. However, it is extremely light, and you're going to have a lot of issues controlling recoil at range. However, aiming is a breeze on this mouse. Essentially, you just have to pick. Do you want consistency, or do you want flashiness? Me personally, I really like the speed of my aim, and I don't like feeling like I'm dragged down by a wire or something. However, I will give you guys two recommendations for a lightweight mouse and a medium to heavy mouse. For lightweight, my number one recommendation has to be the Starlight 12. I've used this mouse, I had no quality control issues with it, and honestly, it's the best mouse I've ever used. And the second lightweight option I would recommend you guys to use would have to be the Logitech Superlight. This is a very, very cheap mouse shown on screen, and I've never had an issue with the Logitech. The only issue you'll ever have if you're ever a little bit angry and you hit your mouse is the battery will loosen up inside of it, but that's literally like a 10-minute fix if you have a spare pair of glides. Now onto the medium and heavy weighted mice. Now, the Zowie ZA13 and the Zowie FK2B are both my diehard picks. I've never had an issue with either of those mice, and I couldn't recommend them enough to anybody looking to get a wired mouse. However, please note, no matter your setup, you're going to want to get it paracorded and you're going to want to use a mouse bungee. The point of the mouse bungee is to prevent damaging your wire at either the base of the mouse or like longer into the line. Regardless, you want a mouse bungee if you want to preserve your mouse's lifetime. Also, you're going to want a paracord because a paracord will drastically reduce the drag on your desk and it'll make it a lot lighter. Anyway, I highly recommend these mice because they're just a lot better for recoil control. Your mouse won't be as flimsy, and I don't really know how to explain it, but anyone I've ever noticed with a heavier mouse is always more consistent at recoil. Your recoil might not look as bouncy or whatever, but it'll just look smooth. As simple as that. Everything you do will look smooth. You might not be able to flick as fast and dragless as some people on a lighter mouse, but you will never drastically miss a shot. You'll never really whiff on somebody by over aiming them or something. You'll always be kind of like close to your target. Full list of my peripherals and everything I use, by the way, just a reminder, will be in the description below of this video. Next, we're going to talk about sensitivity. Now, a lot of people come into my videos and ask me, oh, what sensitivity do you use? Or, oh, are you still on 1111 or whatever? And as much as I really appreciate those comments and everything, you really just gotta like use what works for you. I understand trying different people's settings, but I promise you, the less time you spend changing your settings and the more time you spend finding a sensitivity that properly works for you on your own terms, and you just stick to that sensitivity and build muscle memory, you will improve so much quicker and like better in the long term. Anyway, starting out, I play 400 DPI. Now, I know a lot of you are on 800 DPI, 1600 DPI, hell, maybe even 3200 DPI, but you're gonna have to make that switch. It was hard for me, and it's gonna be hard for pretty much anybody on a high DPI. I know it might not seem feasible in Siege. Pick a random game you don't care about, or maybe you haven't even gotten into or played before, and just try playing 400 DPI only on that game and no other game, and try sticking with it. I promise you, it's gonna be worth it in the end. When you come back to Siege, and you try with 400 DPI, you're gonna notice it's not as bad as you thought it was before, and you're gonna be a whole lot more consistent, and you might shake a lot less too. Anyway, onto the actual values. In my opinion, there's a golden ratio of sensitivity that almost all the pros, content creators, and even rank stars use. And I believe that's between 5 and 20, horizontal and vertical. Yeah, you always want raw input on because it takes it directly from your peripherals and it doesn't let your Windows like cursor speed affect it. Now moving on to mouse ADS sensitivity, I have a very, in my opinion, basic sense. A lot of people have a very similar sense to this. Essentially, it just tries to have your 1.0 and your 2.5 very similar to each other. I actually love my sensitivity. If you really can't think of a sensitivity for yourself, I recommend giving this a try. It actually worked pretty well for me. It's 41 on 1x, 62 on 2.5, 71 on 3.5, 78 on 5.0, and 86 on 12.0. One more thing, you want to make sure you're on default multiplier. So many people have these just whack sensitivity multipliers to where it's like, oh, well, I played 96, 96, and they're really on like 3, 3 or something. I promise you, it literally does not matter. It's just placebo. Just play default multiplier and blame it on the mousepad or something. Now for attachments. A lot of people have always asked me, oh, do you use flash, comp, or muzzle, or suppressor? Honestly, any gun that has a high rate of fire, or even a slow rate of fire like Valk or whatever, just run flash hider, vertical grip, and laser. The laser makes it to where you ADS faster. The vertical grip just removes recoil. All these other grips are terrible in comparison. Flash hider removes vertical recoil, and that's about it. And as far as sights go, literally just pick something you're not used to, play it, and convince yourself that you are the Albert Einstein of Siege and you're inventing something, and you'll play a lot better. At the end of the day, no matter which one of these you choose when it's a 1x, it's going to travel the same distance when you move it left or right. And that's what matters. Now, on some guns, I actually do think it's fun to run suppressor. Not necessarily because, oh my god, you don't want your shots being heard, but just some guns are perfect for it. Like shotguns, for example, I love running suppressor on. For instance, Amari Shotty, this is probably the most satisfying shotgun sound in the entire game. But honestly, if I had to give my concluding thoughts, no little value of your sensitivity is going to make or break a player. That new super light Finalmouse X47 you just got, I don't think is going to make that much of a difference. All it's going to do is give you the confidence to think you're better than people you're playing against. And in my honest, humble opinion, I think that's all it comes down to. If you load into a match and you think you're going to aim bad, chances are you're going to aim bad. If you load into a match and you think turning raw input off just saved your entire mechanical skill and you are 2017 Bolo, you're probably going to play better than you would if you thought you were terrible. It's really all about confidence and not arrogance. Don't run into a doorway and expecting the 180 flick on somebody, but don't hold a doorway and shake your mouse as someone peeks you because you don't think you can hit them. At the end of the day, just be confident in yourself and your ability and keep practicing with the same settings and peripherals. But at the end of the day, that's all it boils down to, guys. Just be confident in yourself. I hope with that, I could have helped some of you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and have an amazing day. Peace.